Hello and good afternoon. um, Coming back to you again with another video pertaining to corruption within leadership inside of institutions, organizations, um, groups, particularly nonprofits. These types of things are taking place, of course, all types of institutions and businesses, nonprofit, profitable, private, public. Um, First of all, let me say, I'm with an organization known as the United House of Prayer for All People, and I'm putting out videos um, that are educational and informative so that I can educate and inform anyone that is interested in this type of content, no matter where you are around the planet. Um, that said, my organization, I discovered individuals in our leadership that was a part of corruption and activity that was not in compliance with our laws. Some may even cross borders into non-compliance with the laws of the land. I'm sure if those things were looked into, those things would be discovered. Many issues. At any rate, we're now covering within these videos a section pertaining to 501c3. We are under a 501c3 status, meaning that we have an exemption from paying taxes in certain venues of our organization. Before we continue, we have a lot to cover. Today I would like to cover. So let me just begin. We're going to touch on a few things. And the purpose is hopefully to get us to an understanding, to gain quite a bit of knowledge about certain aspects of a 501c3. Under a 501c3, you should have a board of directors. I would say must, but many people do not. They have the appearance of, but not actually. However, it's necessary to utilize a board of directors for many reasons. As such, we're going to talk about the individual who's over the board. He's elected by the members of the board, he or she, and we're going to talk about what role this person plays. And instead of you hearing from me, I'm going to allow you to actually hear from someone else. Okay, so let's pay attention.
Along with content contributors, Equilar, Meridian Compensation Partners, Wilson Sonsini Goodrich and Rosati, Donnelly Financial Solutions, and the Society for Corporate Governance.
Welcome to this edition of Inside America's Boardrooms. I'm TK Kerstetter, the CEO of Boardroom Resources, and your host for the show. We're coming to you from San Francisco today, from the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, which is a great facility that helps educate and mentor entrepreneurs. And if you're one of those that fits into that, this is something that you really need to look into. It's a great facility and organization. So today's show, we're going to be talking about the unwritten role of the chairman of the board. And it's very appropriate because we're here today at the Equilar's Board Leadership Forum. And who better to talk about that than somebody who's a board leader themselves? Welcome my guest, Mike Smith, who's the chairman of Zebra Technologies. Mike, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thank you, TK.
So you are the chairman and the governance chair of Zebra. And when I looked at your information, you have served on every possible committee that a board could have, search committees, strategy committees, whatever. So obviously you got the chairman's title because you certainly build up quite a resume of serving as chair or member of all these committees. So you're a perfect person to ask this question. The the job of the chairman, and we're talking outside chairman now, the job of the chairman has certainly changed, okay? There was a day when it was almost like who had time to do it or who was the senior person. Today, it's got a much bigger responsibility. Talk a little bit about how the chairman's job has evolved over the last 5 or 10 years.
Well, TK, I completely agree. The chair role is certainly no longer the somewhat empty ceremonial puppet head role that it may have been in decades past. It's a role with real governance substance, and it requires active leadership. I think of the fact that the CEO, as head of the management team, really reports to the board, which has the solemn responsibility to hire and fire the CEO and his team, to compensate the team. But the board of directors also has a boss. They're not the top of the food chain. And that boss is the shareholder. And the chair has a particular role as sort of an elected peer representing the board of directors to really be the face of that board to shareholders.
Now, he said a mouthful. First of all, he said the CEO is supposed to be under the board. I'm going to allow you to hear it again.
The fact that the CEO, as head of the management team, really reports to the board, which...
The CEO, as the head of the management team, reports to the board. They report to the board. Report to the board.
The solemn responsibility to hire and fire the CEO and his team, to compensate the team.
The board has the authority to hire and fire the CEO and his team, his or her team. We have in the Constitution that the General Assembly, they elect our CEO. But the CEO that we have, they keep giving the impression to everyone that nobody can get rid of them. This is why I've been saying he's gone rogue. The individuals that's in all these positions underneath of him as councilmen, mind you, councilmen that he selected. Supreme laws. Supreme laws. We have all of these individuals on the Supreme Council, or the General Council. And the General Council are these men that's made up of ministers that are put there by the bishop. I wanted to make sure of something before I said it. But they're put there by the bishop. And the bishop has the opportunity to install, appoint, or remove anytime he feels like it. So reality is we have an entire general council that serves the bishop because the bishop is the one who put them there. So the members of the organization, they think that the bishop is one thing and the council, they're this whole group of men, the highest ecclesiastical body of the organization, who's serving the will of the people. They're not serving the people, they're serving the bishop. Let me say that again. They're not serving the people, they're serving the bishop. He puts them there and they are afraid of him. They are intimidated by him. They are scared of him. Period and point blank. Anybody that's going to be a part of that council, they need to understand that he is going to tell them what to do, not the people, not the laws, and nothing regarding anything other than the bishop. So when you talk about a CEO and his team, this team in our organization is the General Council. Also on that team is the Secretary of the General Assembly and his assistant, which is why we keep hearing the CEO tell people in the General Assembly over and over and over again how pleased they are with the secretary. And then not the people, not the General Assembly, but the General Counsel, who's illegally set up inside the General Assembly, they get up and they nominate or elect who they've already talked about putting there because it was already pre-planned. Mind you, the same thing when it comes to the CEO, because the members in the organization, they're in the part of the General Assembly, they don't get up. They didn't get up to nominate the CEO. One of the councilmen got up and nominated the CEO. And then one of the councilmen got up to close the floor for nominations so nobody else could get up to nominate anybody else. So again, I keep saying over and over and over again how he was put in position. I've said that I'm gonna make videos and give you evidence to support these things, and I will be doing that. But again, it's just myself and my wife. We have so much to cover, and we have a little bit of time in the course of every day to do these things. Anyway, this is what a CEO is saying. They report to the board of directors.
But you know, the board of directors also has a boss. They're not the top of the food chain.
The board of directors have a boss. Pay attention again to what he's saying.
And that boss is the shareholder. And the chair has a particular role as sort of an elected peer representing the board of directors to really be the face of that board to shareholders.
What he just said, the boss of the board of directors is the shareholder. The shareholders are the people. It's like being a credit union member, being a member of a credit union. You may not be the CEO of that credit union, like a bank. You may not be a board member of that credit union, like a bank. But it's not a private bank. It's owned by members that are called shareholders. Whenever you're looking into stock, if anybody buys stock, you're buying a certain number of shares in that stock. So whenever you buy shares of that stock, say you bought 1,000 shares of Mattel toys or Colgate toothpaste, anything, but you bought 1,000 shares of Colgate company or Mattel company or General Mills, the cereal company, 1,000 shares make you now a shareholder. You invested money in that company. The board of directors' job is to make sure that they keep your best interest at heart because you are the one who put up the money. In our organization, the members of the organization are the ones putting up the money. We are a type of shareholder. The board of directors, the General Assembly, their best interest is supposed to be, their first interest rather, is supposed to be to keep the best interest of the members at heart, not the bishop. The General Assembly is not there. The board of directors is not there to look out for the best interest of the CEO. The board of directors is there to look out for the best interest of the shareholder / the people. So the board is supposed to be taking care of the people, because without the people, there'd be no company, and without no company, there'd be no board. Without a board, there'd be no CEO. So how do bishops get elected in the organization known as the United House of Prayer for All People? You got to go through the General Assembly. The people in the General Assembly who make up the board of directors, they will hire a CEO / bishop. Yes, hire. Why? Because I've shown in other videos that our bishop is compensated. Now, this is a catch-22, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But let's go a little bit further.
I think that given that perspective, which is a shareholder-oriented perspective, it's fair to say that I think there are three particular areas of accountability that the chair role kind of has. The first is board composition. The second is what I would call board hygiene. Does the board function well and does it function smoothly? And lastly, there's the issue of sort of board interaction with management. Is it healthy? Is it effective? Maybe I could take a moment and talk a little bit about the first one, which is board composition. I think the chair has a special obligation there to make sure that the composition of the board really fits the business that it's overseeing and has a membership that not only fits what the company's doing today, but fits where that company is going and what its strategy is for the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 7 or 8 years.
What he just said is that the board, number one, should be focused on where the company is going, where the organization is going, what's going to be done, the decisions that's going to be made in any aspect or regard, just about. Let's go further.
That requires a level of depth and sort of virtuosity and flexibility on the board that isn't easy necessarily to achieve. It's one thing to have a board that fits the business today. It's another thing to have that same board be in a position to fit that business, especially after a transformational strategy for what it's going to be 5, 7, 8 years out.
The board, the General Assembly that was in place in the Founders' Day should not be the same as the board that's in place 80 years later. There's different laws, there's different statutes, there's different challenges, everything is different. And if we are not adopting to make sure that we are evolving along with those differences as a board, a collective body of people who's overseeing the direction of that organization, then you are doomed and bound to fail. I'm gonna go ahead and close this particular video out, but let's go to another one. I want you to hear. Now you heard there's 3 things that he said the board chairman should be focused on, because the chairman of the board is who kind of drives the board to look at these things. But I want to stay on task and keep time in mind. So let me allow you to hear another individual.
Percentage of the business, which they...
This individual is somebody who you all probably know. This individual's name is Warren Buffett. This is public information that he's about to give. He gave a presentation. And as we get into this, I want you to understand these are the 3 things that he's going to be sharing, okay? Now I'm going to read them out for you. He says, pick the right CEO. Keep that CEO in check. People with big jobs can often have big egos and like to make big deals with other people's money. Solicit unbiased, gather, recruit, bring in unbiased, independent judgment, free-thinking people, people who think on their own feet, people who think with their own mind, people who have their own ideas, people who have originality. They're not just go along to get along type people. People who are just going to agree with every single thing you say and every single thing you do. People who are sometimes going to disagree with you. People who are sometimes going to present a different direction or a different idea or a different strategy in order to accomplish the goals that everyone collectively is trying to accomplish. He's saying that you better be getting at least as much as you're giving. Listen to this carefully.
Sell at the current market price. If somebody came along with a tender offer 20% higher, they would say that's inadequate. But they hand away a piece of the business because they want to own something else. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to be sure that you're getting as much as you're giving. I have very seldom heard a discussion. In fact, I don't think I virtually ever heard a discussion of weighing what you were actually giving away on a stock deal versus what you're getting. I've heard a lot of discussion about dilution and when dilution will be overcome and all that sort of thing, but that is not the question.
Now, he's saying that after making a point, getting what you're giving, whenever you put somebody in a position, what he's getting at, and I'm allowed, again, you ought to hear this. What he's getting at is when making a decision, you need to make sure that whatever you're giving in that decision being made, you're getting in return at least what you're giving or more. Okay, 1 second.
Usually, for a long time, I would say
with management. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that most writers and most shareholders probably have a little bit of a distorted version, at least how most corporations, large corporations, have operated over the years. Usually, for a long time, I would say that directors generally were sort of potted plants. I mean, you sat there and the management had its agenda and didn't really want input on major matters. And Charlie and I can certainly testify the fact that we had great lack of success, even when we were the largest shareholder of a company, in terms of talking about the things that really count. I mean, if somebody spends their whole lifetime, 25, 30 years, rising to the position of CEO, they want to be boss, and you can't blame them. And the only thing in their way is the board of directors. So they look for people who are big names, and they look for ways to keep them happy. But they don't really want them getting into the business very much. There's a lot more process now that's been imposed by the recent rules. But I would say still, in terms of the reality of the guts of business and the discussions that take place and all that, I think you might be surprised at the level overall of that throughout corporate America. As I've written in the report, overwhelmingly the job of the board of directors is to have the right CEO. I mean, if you've got the right CEO, 90% of it takes care of itself. If you were a director of Cap Cities and you had Tom Murphy as the CEO, case closed. It was all you needed. And if you have that CEO, I think you have an obligation on the board to make sure that there's not overreaching by the CEO, because the CEO can have different interests. And I think the third thing, they really should bring some independent judgment in on major acquisitions, because there is a natural tendency for people with usually big egos, big independent judgment in CEO can have different interests. And I think the third thing that the board should do is they really should bring some independent judgment in on major acquisitions, because there is a natural tendency for people with usually big egos, big motors, who get to be CEOs to like to do big things and to become bigger, spending other people's money. And normally when big deals come along, the management, by the time it gets there, they've made the deal anyway. They have investment bankers there who go through a little ritual. I've never seen one come in and make a presentation that says it's a dumb idea. I mean, they know what the answer's supposed to be, and it just...
Now, what he just said, if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, you probably want to look him up. The last time I heard or looked into this, I think it was worth $56 billion. That man, the man sitting beside him, is one of the most famous partners that he's had, if I'm not mistaken, and one of the most brilliant business minds when it comes to Wall Street or New York Stock Exchange. Anyway, my point is, he said, and Charlie's going to talk in a little bit, but for sake of time, he's agreeing with him and adding more input. But the point of the matter is, The CEO is to be held in check by the board. He said if you have the right CEO, then that's 90% of the issues for a board of directors. The problem solving is for the board of directors. The goal and the vision of the organization and the company should be the board of directors. All of the objectives that need to be met need to be board of directors. If they give certain things to the CEO to take care of for them, all well and good. If they create a committee, no problem. But we have an organization where the CEO's taken all this power to himself and has demanded that nobody questions him, no one puts him into check, no one is to evaluate him, no one asks even about any of the decisions that he's making. He's of the impression that his decision in anything and everything shall be final. That's the CEO. Not to mention our current bishop, Mr. A.D. Cunningham. Not to mention that whatever it is that he does with the money, with the property, those things that the law says he is entrusted with, don't ask a thing. You just accept every decision that I make. You just follow along. I'm not going to answer to no one. If you don't understand that that is the biggest scandal on the planet, when someone sets up something where no one can question them or hold them accountable or put them in a check about anything, and then you say for the period of your natural life, this is beyond a calamity. This is beyond a crisis. This is exponential. This is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode in the faces of every single member of our organization. Why? Because of what we're going to get into in a little bit. Now, Warren just said that the board should keep them in check. Pick the right one. This is obviously the wrong one. Why? Because the people didn't pick him. Keep in mind, the general counsel picked him. Not even the general counsel. The general counsel was told to pick him. They were told to pick him. The people were never allowed to pick him. Okay? We're not going to go into a whole lot of issues yet with this. I want to make these points clear. Now, watch how this is supposed to work. This is how this is supposed to work. Okay? Pay attention. Second.
Good morning, Mr. Parrish. The board is waiting.
What? What?
Didn't you call a board meeting?
No.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Bill.
Did you want to have a cup of coffee or something, Bill?
I don't think so. You?
Before we go further, this is a man walking into the room, and you can feel the tension already. I'm going to let it play, and then I'm going to come back. Let's watch further.
To get to the point, we've received new information from John Bonticue concerning his desires for this company to merge with his, and we wanted to set the details before you.
Is that it?
Bonticue wants a quick response.
The answer is no. Quick enough for you?
Don't you want to hear the details?
No, I'm not interested in the details, and I'm not interested in the big picture either. What I am interested in is how my board got convened behind my back and is entertaining a further proposal from a man with whom it offends me to do business. I made a decision. Case closed.
So am I to understand from your response that you do not want to hear the details of Bonacue's offer?
Yes, you are to understand that. And now may I ask you a question?
Certainly, Bill.
Are you running this board or am I?
This is what Mr. Cunningham was talking about a few days ago when he said, we only have one leader. We only have one Addy. We only have one representative. Always have, always will. The whole organization never said we had more than one. I never said we had more than one. This is what we as a people need to understand. The way that this is supposed to work is just like this. The people been too intimidated to stand up to power or people in positions of authority. The people have been too intimidated to stand up and question anybody who's in a position or has a title. The people have been told or led to believe that there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do, nothing's going to happen. Let's continue.
That's it. Got a busy day ahead. This meeting's already set me behind. Shall we adjourn?
Before you do, Bill, while we're here, there's a second question the board would like a response to. Far a simpler one. Who is the man standing to your left?
I've already introduced Mr. Black to you all.
But who is he? What are his credentials? What is his relationship to you? The board is deeply concerned. We have reason to believe Mr. Black is not only influencing your decisions in regard to this company, but that you are relying on him to make them for you. The lack of response, Bill, is not appropriate. We are your board. We have a right to know how you are managing the operations of this company. And most importantly, that you have not delegated someone to do it for you. Okay? One more time. Who is Joe Black? Motion has been brought before the board to invoke Article 19 of the Corporate Charter.
In English, please.
Mandatory retirement on our chairman's 65th birthday, at which time the chairman will be named emeritus. You're welcome to attend all meetings, and will serve as international spokesman for the corporation, plus, of course, a settlement. A golden parachute of such magnitude that his feet will never touch the ground. Please indicate your vote by yes or no.
Yes.
No.
No. Motion's passed. We will, of course, delay the announcement out of respect for our former chairman until after the celebration of his birthday this weekend.
Now,
Do not buy.
what you just heard that is how a board is supposed to be run. That was not even the CEO. That's the person who's really over the CEO, or at least the the chairman of the board. And the chairman of the board is over the board. The CEO is a part of the board. The CEO's job is given to him by the board. The CEO's job can be taken away and removed just like that. If the board understands what the board has authority to do, and the members in our organization need to understand that you have the authority to remove a CEO who is no longer willing or obviously no longer abiding by any of the rules of the organization. They've now gone to the extent to say, forget you, forget the General Assembly, forget the Constitution, forget what y'all want, I'm going to do it my way. And you all are going to accept it. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. This is a slap in every member's face. It is the greatest insult. And right now, still, he's traveling around the organization for all those few members who don't understand any of this, who don't understand the law, who don't even understand that he's breaking the law. And many of them still don't know about these videos to make them aware of what it is that he's doing, because they're so indoctrinated that they're turning their ear away from hearing anybody tell them the truth. And there's a few people who come on here to defend him still, to try to deter other people from finding out what's going on, and to get them, no, don't look, don't look, don't look, don't listen, don't pay attention to that. Let's keep following Addy. Let's keep following Addy while he's giving you nothing whatsoever pertaining to the word, the scripture, the Holy Scripture, nothing pertaining to anything revolving around the law, nothing pertaining to order, nothing pertaining to obedience. This is all he's doing. And now he's gone to the extent to say a few days ago still that me being still in the house, I need to stay in line before he puts me in line. Those are his words. He said, I need to make sure that I stay in line. The end of that, I don't know what you want to call it, certainly wasn't a sermon. The end of those moments while he was talking, he said, you don't want Addy to come and put you out. So he's now threatening to put me out of the house, out of the organization. Can a CEO ever threaten a shareholder? Can a bishop ever threaten a member? The member who is standing up for what's right, standing up for the laws, the bylaws, standing up for the Constitution, standing up for the Scripture, standing up to accuse him of his wrongdoing. But instead of the CEO, the biggest man in the organization who stands alone in the office of bishop, to stand up and threaten a member to be put out, which there is no law that says that you have that authority or that ability, to threaten a member, to try to show your anger, or better yet, your disgust towards me for exposing what he's doing wrong and how he's turning other people to also follow him in his wrong. Instead of turning people to do what's right, you're leading people by that example to do wrong. And all of those other leaders, so-called apostles on council, who's not standing up for the people, who's not standing up for what's right, who's standing up to defend him and follow him as he continues to break laws and travel from city to city to city to collect nothing but money and to further take advantage of the members of the organization, otherwise called by the law of the land, shareholders in a nonprofit organization, who's being told while he breathes out threatenings, you better stay in line. Even to the extent where he said, Addie's gonna get you. You have to understand that this man needs to be gone yesterday. And for any member that don't know about these videos, every one of you need to start telling them. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why. Right now is the time for all the members that have left the house of prayer, all the members that are waiting to see what's going to happen, all the members that are not active right now, not participating right now. Now's the time to start calling everybody you know. Call your family members, call your friends, call your neighbors, call and ask any of them, do you know anybody that used to go to the house of prayer? Get every single one of them on the phone and tell them about these videos, because I'm going to be telling every one of you what to do next to prepare to fix this mess that we are in. Get everyone you know who has left, anybody who has stopped going, stopped attending, stopped participating, stopped giving their money. Get all of those people ready. Have them start watching these videos. You can start with this one. And then you can tell them about the rest, because there's a lot that they would have to catch up on. But you can start with this one and let them know everything that you've been witnessing. Show them your notes. Show them what you wrote down. Show them the highlights of different ones. Take them to the shorts. Let them see, let them hear the recordings where they can hear Mr. Cunningham say the things that he said about he's God, he's a God, he's a reincarnation of Jesus. Let them hear that. Let them hear him say all of these things. He's got the blood of Jesus in his hands. He's got the power that was in the breath of Jesus when he blew on the disciples in his hands. The power that was in the shadow of Peter when he walked over those people, that power is in his hands. The power that was in Paul and the virtue that went into the cloths that went out to the people that healed them, in his hands. All these things that he has said and done, let the people know. He said that he's the Lord. A new version of Jesus, separated from Mary's womb. I keep saying it because I'm not going to let the people forget it. You've been saying all these things. He asked the question, after saying, you must believe in who Jesus sent. He said, if you receive him that I send, you receive me. And then he started saying over and over and over and over again, do you receive me? 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 He sent me. I know who I am. You might not believe who I am, but I know who I am, and you have to receive me. To get to him, you must receive me. To get to God, you must receive me. That sounds oddly familiar with the same thing that was said by the last and the former bishop. You can't get to Jesus. You must come to me, and I will go to him. This is false doctrine. Let everybody know. In the house of prayer, quietly, not angrily, but peaceably. Tell those that are still there, you need to watch this one video. Watch it, because they are obviously deceiving, manipulating, and lying to you. Ask them, why has he not said my name? Why will he not set up a time and a date for me to come and meet him in front of all the people so that we can bring this to a close? Whether he does it that way or whether we go to the General Assembly, it's coming to a close. You have a few weeks left. Tell everyone Let's go a little bit further. Looking at what the board just did to that man, they fired him. He was the chairman, just like we have a General Assembly secretary who is now rogue. The General Assembly secretary is ignoring the General Assembly. The Assistant General Assembly secretary, he's ignoring the General Assembly. They're ignoring the shareholders, which are the members. And you heard from Warren Buffett himself, as well as a school of business, teach that the shareholders is the boss of the board of directors, who's the boss of the CEO. Anybody in a position over a nonprofit organization are supposed to be serving its members. The members are not supposed to be serving that one person. But our CEO is of the impression that everybody's got to bow down to him, like he said with his own words, it is okay to worship a man. Mr. Cunningham said that, and he said it on different occasions, because he wants to be worshiped. So now he's promoting different venues for people, the young people especially, to come to have fun. What does fun have to do with saving your soul? What does fun have to do with the gospel? What does fun in this world have to do with him going around claiming to be the representative of the Most High, our Heavenly Father, and his only begotten Son, who gave his life for us to come and have fun? To gather around and listen to live entertainment? To eat food and have fun? That chairman was fired by the board because he was doing things in their mind outside of their knowledge. He was doing things in their mind without coming to them, bringing those things to their attention. Just like our CEO currently today is doing things behind closed doors. Spending money we don't know nothing about. We don't know where the money is going. We don't know how the money is being spent. When it comes to the things that are supposed to be done around the organization, they're supposed to be done uniformed, meaning what you do for one congregation, you're supposed to be doing for every congregation. Uniformed. After all, the first word in the name of the organization, well, the second word, according to registration and trademark, copyright, the United House of Prayer for All People. United means you're together. You're doing everything the same. Everything. Well, with that in mind, this is what our CEO purchased. And he purchased this for the pastor of Chicago, Illinois. Now, this is the inside of the house that was purchased for the pastor of Illinois. This is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 9-bedroom home. 3 baths, 9 bedrooms. Now, my question is, why did our bishop spend $300,000+ for a house for a pastor? One pastor. This is the basement. Another bathroom. Now, the house was renovated, of course, obviously. But the problem here is all these beautiful, 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 beautiful renovations. And even though it's a nice gesture, the problem is, why is it that the bishop did it in the first place? How many other pastors did the bishop buy a house for? We've had pastors that slept on the floor of the house of prayer for many, many months, even over a year. We've had pastors that lived in the office of the houses of prayers that they were the pastors of. They lived there. They had to wash out of the bathroom sink. Bishop didn't go out of his way to get them anything. There's been a handful of men in the organization that this bishop is currently taking care of financially, buying extravagant gifts. If it was organization money, then we have a problem, because that money is supposed to be spent on things that the members of the board approve of. The bishop is supposed to be given a budget. The bishop is supposed to be told what to spend on and what not to spend on. The way it works in any other organization, the CEO does not tell anybody what he's gonna do. The CEO takes orders. He gives an account to the board of directors. He doesn't boss, preside over, or give demands to the board of directors. Why this house? A 9-bedroom house, by the way, for a pastor who is married, yes, but to my knowledge, there's no children. There's no children certainly living with him. Why is there a 9-bedroom house? And then furthermore, why is it that the auxiliaries, all of the clubs around the Midwest, they are required to give $200 apiece in order to raise $10,000, $11,000 for one night that Mr. Cunningham is going to be there in Chicago to pay for the rooms of him and his entourage? Last year it was Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Why must they raise that much money to pay for him to stay there one night? He's got money to take care of himself. The people who's traveling with him, one of them providing a hotel for from the members is Lady D. They must get her a room too. But this multimillionaire cannot spend her own money to get a room if she decides to travel along with the bishop. And why are you having these members spend all that money for these hotel rooms for one night when you just purchased a 9-bedroom, $300,000 house? Cash. Why can't y'all stay there in Chicago? Or better yet, why didn't you just build something in Chicago if you want to get something with 9 bedrooms? The problem is there's too many question marks. There's too much frivolous spending. There's too much spending without accountability. And there's too many things going on in the dark that we don't know nothing whatsoever about, and we're told to not ask questions. Well, that is beyond the law. Those are all dealings of things being done in the dark that people don't know anything about. That is why that board, according to what they had in their minds, got together and called a special meeting so that he could come in and they can fire him and send him out. That is the power of the board. And we're going to show you why it's necessary, and extremely necessary at that, for a board to do exactly what that board did. Because the law says if a board of directors does not hold their officers, a CEO as well, accountable to the laws that they're breaking, then the officers on that board, the board of directors themselves, will also be penalized for their own negligence and not holding their officers accountable by law for their actions. We're going to cover that too. Now, I'm going to allow you to hear something else. Let's pay attention here. This is talking about a relationship between a board of directors and a CEO. Let's listen.
They have to change the world by building a new company, building a new product, a new way of doing something.
Presents.
This is the second podcast we have with Bob Finocchio, Chairman of the Board of Trustees at Santa Clara University. Bob, based on your experience, how would you describe a healthy relationship between the CEO and his board of directors?
It's a challenging relationship. The board hires the CEO works for the board does not work for the CEO. And that has to be clear. You can be cordial with one another. You're working for the same objective, which is to maximize value for shareholders. But the board's job is to pick the right CEO and evaluate and compensate that CEO in the interest of the shareholders. Necessarily.
Now, he said pick the right CEO, evaluate that CEO, and compensate that CEO. 3 different things. Pick the right one, evaluate them, and compensate them. Okay, pick the right one. The members didn't have that opportunity because it was set up from the jump. The council nominated and put them there and elected them, even without anybody else's name being anywhere for the members to elect. To evaluate is to look at his credibility, look at his resume, look at his past behaviors, check him out, look at everything that has to do with anything about that man, and make sure that he is what it is that you think is required and necessary to get the job done. That's going to promote whatever the mission is for that organization. All these things is extremely necessary. And he went on to say, matter of fact, let me let you again go back to here.
Shareholders. That has to be clear. You can be cordial with one another. You're working for the same objective, which is to maximize value for shareholders. But the board's job is to pick the right CEO and evaluate and compensate that CEO in the interest of the shareholders.
He said evaluate and compensate that CEO in the interest of the shareholders, meaning the shareholders are the bosses. The shareholders are the ones that everybody's working for. The board works for the shareholders. The chairman of the board works for the board that works for the shareholders. The CEO works for the board that works for the chairman of the board that works for the shareholders. The chairman of the board offers guidance. He's the one that gives directives in that board meeting. Even though he's not their boss per se, he guides the meeting. The point is that the members are the ones in charge. The CEO does not become a CEO so that he can yell and bark and give a bunch of orders to everybody. I'm in charge, I'm in charge, I'm in charge. in charge of the general counsel. When he sits there, everything is under him. He get to say and yell and do anything he wants. No, that is not the case. It's not supposed to be that way. General Assembly, he gets to say and do anything that he wants. Nobody can hold him accountable. Presiding over the General Assembly, no, not supposed to be that way. All year round, over every single thing, he is in charge over everything. No one questions him and hold him accountable to nothing. Not supposed to be that way. A long list of violations with these laws, and my point to you all is that this bishop is not the one. Pay very close attention to what comes up next.
Necessarily, there should be some tension in that relationship.
So if things are going well, can the board ease up a bit with the CEO?
I get very worried when everybody's happy. When the company's doing well, stock is up, the CEO is a rock star. The CEO feels bulletproof. That's when companies screw up. And that's when boards screw up because they go, my God, how can I criticize this rock star CEO? Look at how great the company's doing. We are so lucky. We are so smart to have chosen the CEO. But oftentimes that's when boards lose control. And that's when boards ought to be paying the most amount of attention, is when the CEO turns into a rock star. And that's when it's perhaps the most uncomfortable to say, yeah, even though the stock is up $10, how do we know we're doing the right thing?
So what should the CEO expect from the board?
Well, just as the board should be demanding of the CEO should be demanding of the board. And it can start with the mechanics. You have to be prepared. You have to do the work. You have to...
Now, for sake of time, we're going to close this out. But a CEO is demanding of the board, in other words, in the things that the CEO might need. Here's our vision. You want me to do this, but I need resources to do it. You have to set up a budget for me. You have to give me opportunity to set up staff. You have to set up a committee so that I can succeed in managing what it is that you've given me to manage. I'm just a manager. As your CEO, I get that, but in order to do my job as a manager, you have to give me the tools to manage with. That's what he's about to say. In other words, the CEO does not do whatever he feels like. He does not take control of the company or the organization and is entrusted with everything on his shoulders. The board is supposed to be demanding, you heard him say, of its CEO. And when the CEO is far-reaching, becomes a rock star, bulletproof, can't nobody touch me, and this is what he's been saying. I even played a recording where he said, you can't move me. God is with me. You can't move me. But this is a CEO. What kind of mindset is that? Who's broken all these laws and who's supposed to be serving the people? The mindset is I can do whatever the heck I feel like doing and ain't nobody going to say nothing about it. Buying properties for different people. Promoting different people that should not ever be promoted. Putting people out in the front that should not be in the front. Shouldn't even be in the back. They shouldn't be invisible. They should not be visible at all. We got people who's being exalted, whose names should never be mentioned. Why? Because we're dealing with a rogue CEO. That said, we're going to come back. We're going to show you a few more things as we prepare to get ready to go forward with this 501c3 literature. It was necessary to show you this because you need to see it coming from someone other than myself, so that you'll understand that I'm not just making these things up. I'm not just saying things. And we are grossly out of line. And we're doing all kinds of things, quite frankly, illegally. And the people on the General Assembly are the ones that are going to be held responsible for a CEO that is completely out of control. I will see you all in the next video.